Hello, fellow panel chewers. Welcome back to Panel Chewing Pick of the Week. It's the weekly comic book episode where Jared and I come and talk about all the books we read this week. We have our favorite, which is the pick of the week. And then we'll get to our group read, which is the Matt Fraction run on Batman. Today, we will be discussing two
Grant
issues.
Morrison.
Grant Morrison. Sorry. Jeez. Too many authors. So the Grant Morrison run on Batman. I don't even read the notes that I have written down here. But today we'll be discussing issues 673 and 674. Next week we will finish off the read with 675, and after that we'll be getting into Lone Wolf and Cub in 2 weeks with one volume per week, and they're about over 100 pages, 1 to 200 pages, but lots of pages with no text, so it's not a very time-consuming read. And this, of course, is available for free on Libby and Hoopla. We invite everyone to read along with us and discuss the read with us on the forum if you'd like to do that. And with all that out of the way, Jared, how's it going?
It's going okay. Another good batch of books, and another week has gone by.
Yeah, keep going. We had mentioned Lone Wolf and Cub, and I really didn't know. I don't know what the series is about. So for people who are curious about it or trying to decide whether to read along with us, what is it about?
Well, Lone Wolf and Cub came out in Japan back in the 70s. This is a written by, I'm going to butcher the name, so forgive me, but written by Kazuo Koike and artwork by Goseki Kojima. And it isn't manga like you're used to today with the overexpressed eyeballs and what have you that you get in the manga today, the super expressions and what have you. This is actually more along the lines of, hand-drawn, rough sketch type of fine art pencils with, in inks, and it's all in black and white. And this series takes place in Edo-period Japan, and it was praised for its historical accuracy of that period, and of course it deals with the samurai period, and it deals with a Ronin, a masterless samurai who is our lone wolf, and he has his son who is the cub. It is I first saw this book. The company First Comics put out adaptations of this work in the 80s in color, which was, because it was originally in black and white. But they didn't do the whole thing. First Comics ended up going out of business after a while, but so they never finished the series, and they had Frank Miller covers on their comics. And Frank Miller has said that Goseki Kojima was a huge influence on his evolving style. He as we saw in our Daredevil read along, he used a more Marvel friendly style when he first started, but then he started to get his own style going, and that was influenced by Kojima. And so that was why he was so eager to do the covers for the adaptations. And then in the late 90s, I think, or early 2000s, Dark Horse Comics decided to take the plunge and do these adaptations that we're reading now. And they did a wonderful job with the adaptations. They kept the original size of the printings, which is very small, can fit in your hand. And they kept the original black and white artwork. They did not do it back to front like originally printed in Japan, like all mangas printed. They did do it in American style of front, of left to right, or whatever you call that. And so it's easy to read, and the story revolves around this Ronin and his cub, and it gets into why they are like in the situation they're in, and there's a lot of politics in there. There's a lot of there's a lot of sword fighting, and and this also spawned movie adaptations back in the 70s. They were very in that 70s style, in the same style as like some of the kung fu theater that came out back then. Bruce Lee and all those kind of movies that came out in the 70s. The kind of stuff that Quentin Tarantino, you know, based Kill Bill on.
Oh, okay.
And the movies were called Shogun Assassins, and of course those movies were mentioned in Kill Bill if you pay attention to the second volume. But so it had a huge cultural influence on some pop culture in other areas. I read this when it first was reprinted by Dark Horse Comics back in the day, so it's been over 20 years since I read it easily, and I am looking forward to going back to it because it's always been on my shelf. It's always been one of my favorites. It's in my top 10 comics of all time, and I am looking forward to revisiting this and seeing if it holds up to my expectations, and also just revisiting the kind of historical drama and action that I know that Koike is known for.
Nice. Yeah, so there's how many, 18 volume or 28 volumes, right?
28 volumes all told. They read very quickly, each volume. So don't be scared by the page count. You will fly through these very quickly. But you could also stop and admire the artwork too. So, don't rush it just because you want to rush it. Take your time and absorb it if you wish. But they do go very fast because some of the artwork is very kinetic. It's action oriented, and so it is kind of meant to be read quickly in some areas.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to. I've heard a lot about it. I've been wanting to read it. I try not to look into too many things before I read something online anyway, because I don't want to get spoiled. But it's definitely one of the more well known manga books. So looking forward to starting it. It'll be a nice break from the Marvel and DC stuff we have been reading with the group read. But yeah, so if you want to join in, it's free. It's all you need is a library card to join Libby, and read along with us and join the discussion on the forums. No charge.
I'm broke as shit.
Helps in this economy, so it's always nice to get some. So with all that said, all that out of the way, we can get to our list for the week. Have a pretty nice size this week. And we'll start it off with American Caper number 6. This is, of course, by Dark Horse Comics. This one we have one of our characters, Orson. He gets an assignment, and William visits his daughter while his wife plots his death. And the interaction between him and his daughter was pretty entertaining. And of course, the cartel comes in and does things that the cartel does. So no surprise there. But the story is continuing to move forward with all the different characters. It doesn't feel overwhelming. I think it's at a nice pace. And the satire continues with it being very heavy-handed. But I think it's funny. It's still entertaining. It's not too heavy-handed. It knows what it's doing, but it knows when to hold back and when to not be so goofy and have a full page spread of a fake advertisement. So the artwork by David Lapham, who we'll mention again here in a little bit,
and again.
Yeah, he's a busy guy, which I'm really glad about. I'm really happy that he's so busy.
Yeah,
I love his stuff. So yeah, this is another book that I enjoy reading. I'd laugh out loud almost every time I read this book. So yeah, another solid issue.
I think that one should be on the way to me. My first book this week is Fury of the Firestorm, number 1. And this is from DC Comics. This is part of their next level series of books that are coming out recently with number 1s. And of course, it's written by Jeff Lemire, and which immediately attracted me to it. But also, it's drawn by Roberto Della Torre of Conan fame. And so that was another draw for me to go pick this up. And I gotta say, the artwork did not disappoint. I'm really digging it, and I really dig when he brings it into that old time comic book style. In the middle of the book, he uses a different style that might be more coloring than pencils, but still, it really fit. And then Del Torre really shines with some of the darker stuff, as evidence on his Conan work. But I really dug the artwork in this book, and I thought it was really cool. I really enjoyed the the storyline of this hero, this former hero, or maybe hero, kind of not being put in the best light here.
Yeah.
So it was. It has the potential to show us what happens when a hero is not what we think he is, or what we thought it was. And there's, it's playing at levels of power that are scary. And I really liked where it went. And I thought it gave us enough backstory that I don't feel like I need to go read some type of back of old issues or something like that to like figure out who this guy is and where it was. I thought Lamaya did a good job of just breaking up the history in little spurts to give you enough that you can just say, all right, let's see where this new story goes. And I thought he did a really great job at it. I think much better than some of the other DC work that I've seen from him. So I was impressed with this first issue. I kind of liked it. I'm gonna carry on.
Nice. I kind of feel like Firestorm would be a better villain after
Yeah.
reading this book. He would make a formidable villain, or something a little bit more serious, like a more serious toned book.
It
Like
is.
yeah,
It feels like it so far. Yeah.
yeah, I like it. The next one for me is Corpse Night. This is the first issue by Image. So the story is about in this medieval setting, it's about a father who gets killed in front of his daughter, uh, and his daughter has to fend for herself after her father gets killed, and that's basically the introduction for it. Of course, there's a corpse night. There's a reason for that. It makes an interesting choice because it brings in historical characters. One of the characters that it mentions, or maybe the only character it mentions, is Joan of Arc, and I wonder why. There may be more to Joan of Arc's story that ties into this one, or there may be reasons why they chose Joan of Arc. But I'm assuming it'll wrap into the story and somehow it'll weave into the story. It just seemed like a strange choice. I just kind of feel like when a story that wants to feel more fantasy based, or more of like this work of fiction, and it involves characters throughout history, it kind of takes me out of it, and it doesn't feel it feels more grounded because they're mentioning real people. So this one I'm not sure about. I'll keep an eye on it, and if it's a slow week, I'll pick up the second issue.
All right. Another number one. I have the Hab number one from Bad Idea Comics. I think these guys probably my new favorite independent comic publisher since our friends at Distillery are no longer publishing right now. But
come back soon, Distillery.
Yes, come back soon. But these guys are doing a pretty good job of filling in that void. And with the Hab number one, this is written by Joshua Dysart and drawn by our friend David Lapham once again. Wow. And he does disappoint in his artwork once again. It's really good. This is the story of it's a post-apocalyptic situation where this really rich asshole, excuse my language.
Your language is offensive.
That's it. Well, but there's no denying it with this book. It's flat out, this guy is the biggest jerk you can imagine. Really rich. He builds this super huge survival bunker where he can take his basically all the employees of his company. And he does that because, he already knows how to boss them around. So who else better to take with him than people he knows how to boss around, so he can boss them around some more. And
makes sense.
Yeah, from an evil genius perspective, it makes perfect sense. And but this guy's not a genius. He just happens to run the company. And and he brings his new wife, his trophy wife, and his daughter from a previous marriage with him. So there's a lot of and the people in this company. So you get introduced to quite a few characters in there. There's a lot going on as far as different characters that you get introduced to in this story. And it's a pretty involved story as you start to get introduced to the different things that he built to accompany him and to protect them from the outside world, whatever happened. It's kind of vague what happened on the outside world. He hasn't really explained that yet. I think that's coming because we do get some flashbacks in here. So we are going to get an idea. But the interaction of the people and the introduction of the different segments of this place that he built is, part of the draw for the book because it's all new and exciting, and it's a number one, so it's a lot of setup, but it's also setting up a story that is promising to be filled with some strange goings on because we're also introduced to the problem with this place and we're introduced to the personal conflicts as well. So a solid start for a promising new series.
Wow.
Yeah.
High praise.
That's good.
Let's check that one out. So the next one for me is one of the longer titles, which is the Florida Hippopotamus Cocaine Massacre. This is the third issue by Mad Cave Studios. Now, this one the story is over the top. It's exaggerated. It's very frantic. The pace is very frantic. And it really it is nonstop, wall to wall, go, go, go. And everything, like I said, it's just constant. So I admire the commitment to the bit. I think it's hard to keep that level going. I think that's what I was kind of wondering in the last couple of issues is how are they going to keep this pace going? And it is just dripping with satire. It's poking fun at just about everything with entertainment, politics, culture, everything. And it's just not, I think I've reached the point where it's just not fun for me anymore. It's just too much, too fast. It doesn't have time to breathe. It's just constant. And there's no moment that it just kind of settles in. And I think that's what just kind of wore me out with this one. I think this would have been a better served as like a long one shot, like a 60, 70 page one shot instead of it going series. I think that would have been better. But that's just my personal opinion. I think some people would really enjoy this and it would be their type of humor. So while it doesn't work for me, I can see it working for someone who enjoys this kind of pace and the satirical aspects of the story. So it's a trombone for me, but I can understand why some people would enjoy it.
All right. And wow. Batwoman #2 is also a part of the DC Next Level series of books coming out here. And written by Greg Rucka and artwork by Donnie. I think that's how you say it. Donnie. Okay. And so I went into this hoping for a continuation of the excellent Greg Rucka writing that I've come to be used to coming from him. And I was hoping the expectations would meet my expectations, but unfortunately, I'm not really enjoying this book that much. I tried the first one. I was like, okay, let's see where it goes, because the first issue had a lot of reminding of stuff that happened in Rucka's first run way back when. And then I was hoping the second issue was going to take it off in a new direction. And it does kind of, but it's kind of, I don't know, it just didn't sit well with me. I'm not jiving with the direction it's going in the story that's being told. And I think part of it has to do with the artwork in here. I'm just not, that's definitely something that's not jiving with me is the artwork. I don't like the way Batwoman's portrayed or drawn. It's awkward at some points, the facial expressions and some of the inks and the blacks just don't seem to. It feels like he's trying to do a Miller-esque style, but it doesn't feel like the right palette is being chosen for the way that Miller does. Miller knows his blacks and whites, and this one just doesn't. I'm not feeling it at all. Some things happen in the story that could be considered shocking, to the casual reader. But it's nothing we haven't seen in a vigilante superhero book before. And so I had hopes, but I think I'm gonna have to drop this one here and give this one the old trombone.
Wow. A great
Yeah,
Eureka book.
yeah, it's just not doing it for me.
They can't all be winners. Yeah. Yeah. So the next one for me is a book called In Your Skin, #1. Now, I'd heard this is a body horror, has lots of body horror elements in it, so I checked it out. So the story is, there's a Bollywood actor that there's a super fan gets to meet this actor, and things don't quite go as planned. There's some it's body horror, but there's also erotica in the book, and I really enjoyed the artwork by Som. Really enjoy the artwork, beautiful art. Unfortunately, just the story just isn't for me. It's just not, just didn't hit the mark for me. So I got to give it the old trombone. So the trombone is getting some work the last
We got
couple of weeks.
3 in a row. Wow.
Yeah. 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 Hopefully the next one isn't a trombone.
No. The next one is Night City #3, the final issue in the Night City series from Dark Horse Comics, and another David Lapham drawn book. And seeing these books side by side, it's amazing how he can change up his style the way he does, and I appreciate that a lot because it really separates the books for you, and you don't feel like you're reading. You're not getting confused. You feel like you're reading the same one. You're in a different universe or something. But Laughlin does a great job once again. The story was interesting. I liked it. I like what he did. I kind of wish it was. I don't know. I kind of wish it was drawn out some more and explored a little further some of the concepts and themes that Matt Kint introduced to us. I could see it. It had to be done right, though. I mean, because I could see it also being drawn out way too far and getting redundant. But it just didn't feel quite enough for me. It felt a little rushed at points. But those are just minor complaints. All told, I think it was a pretty solid miniseries, and I think Matt Kint went in. He said what he wanted to say about certain aspects of the superhero genre, and he he did it very quickly. I kind of it gave the hero this choice. You get that, you choose this or you choose that, and you've seen that dozens of times in tons of different superhero stories, and the hero always kind of chooses but then kind of does something else, and I was just hoping for a little bit something different than that, because we have seen that before. And the way the first issue in this series started out, I thought it was going to be really, really original. And, it turned out to be a little bit more typical, but still good, still a solid run. And I am glad I read and finished off the series. It was fun.
Yeah, I think I was hoping for more of a definitive conclusion.
Yeah.
I guess that's the best way to say it without spoiling it for anyone.
Yeah. But I mean, the artwork alone is worth the price of admission. But and it's pretty solid. It's not, it's definitely not a stinker at all. It's a pretty solid book.
Yeah, I was like you'd mentioned. I wish they had drawn it out more, but then I'm not sure how far. How far do you want to? Is it would 4 issues have been enough, or 5? And then you run the risk of going kind of wearing out your welcome and not
Right.
having it so tight. But that's the kind of the problem there is how much do you draw it out, and then at some point do you lose your readership because you're drawing it out too far. So it's a lose-lose situation. Sounds like.
Yeah.
So the next one for me is a series that I've been enjoying quite a bit, which is Spawn the Dark Ages #5. There's one more to go after this. It's a 6 issue run. This is the I've enjoyed this Spawn run more than I've enjoyed, I think, maybe any other Spawn run. I think back to the 90s. I mean, when there was Spawn 1 through 10 or 11, when it was really new and exciting and everyone was reading it and it was a cultural phenomenon. Those of you who were alive back then, it was this major thing. The Image books launching, it was this huge deal. And everybody was crazy about this book. And looking back now, though, I've gone back and reread those, and they just don't. They don't have the same. When you're 11 years old reading it, it's different when you're an adult. So it's not the same. But with all that said, I'm really enjoying this. I'm of course enjoying the art by Liam Sharp. After the tragic events of the last issue, everything's starting to fall apart, and it's leading to what should be an eventful final issue. And I'm enjoying it quite a bit. I really like the art. They use this traditional language to make it feel like an old story. They've really committed to using this language, and sometimes it's confusing because it's written strange. But on one hand, it's annoying sometimes, but on the other hand, I admire that they are really going for it. And I really hate when stories that are supposed to be based hundreds or thousands of years ago or this other place, when they use modern language or modern slang. It really irritates me. So this makes me happy, even though it is kind of strange to read sometimes. So yeah, it's been consistent, and the artwork's phenomenal. It's great. And you can really tell that Sharp, I think, has tighter deadlines on this, because when you look at his Conan work, it's very, very detailed. And on this, it's still good, but it's not as detailed. So you can really tell the difference, that he just probably doesn't have enough time to really flesh everything out, but it's still fantastic.
Does he have somebody else inking?
I don't think so. I think it's just him. So anyway, I'm still enjoying this book. It wasn't pick of the week material this week, but very good. So one more issue to go.
Well, for those interested, I know he is working on another Conan story.
I can't wait.
Yeah, my next book is Hyde Street, numbers 8 through 10. I read 3 issues of it to catch up. I wanted to catch up to the current issue that I read a few weeks ago. And so now I'm all caught up, and I'm very glad that I am. What a fun book. I love how number 8 through 9, through 8 through 10, and now I realize number 11 too, was delving into individual characters, on Hyde Street, and that's kind of actually Jeff Johns' MO with some of these books. I know he's done that for Redcoat too, but but I think he did it here better. He did it here best as I can see. The stories surrounding these characters are fascinating. Each character, I think, is well fleshed out and really well defined. Like he really gives us some unique people here in these stories. Just Dr. Ego and the Silver Hood, and no, not Sisterhood. Can't read my own writing.
I know, yeah, I can relate.
And the whole story around the mask and the glasses and stuff, and it's just it's really neat how this is being played out, and I just like all the little touches that go into it, that it's not just a pastiche of the single character. The ongoing story is still featured prominently in each issue as well, and Ivan Rice's artwork is just outstanding. It really
So
is
good.
Next level.
So good.
So I almost just threw these 3 issues in there for pick of the week, but I decided on the one I'm going to talk about later for another reason. But these are just, this is a top-notch series. So if you haven't read this series, go to Hoopla or what's Libby. Go to those and catch up like I did, because it's really great.
I'm broke as shit.
Shout out to Libby and Hoopla again, because we were talking before we started recording, and issue 11, which is I think 3 weeks old, 2 or 3 weeks old.
Yeah,
it's already there to read. So take advantage of all the free shit. Go get it. go read it. And there's a ton of other stuff. And read Lone Wolf and Cub with us too. So, with all that said, it's time for no trombones, but instead the applause and pick of the week.
All right. I have Astro Quantum, number 3, as my pick this week. From Mad Cave Comics, another cool independent company. And this is written and drawn by Andrea Moody, who I know has done some Marvel stuff in the past, but I am really enjoying this guy's story and this guy's artwork. This is a sci-fi kind of pulpy sci-fi space opera type of thing. And it's following these two characters on this journey as they get into these different situations, and they get in with this captain of the ship. I think they're kind of like pirates, and that's just a really cool swashbuckling feel that you get with these. But it has a kind of a Star Wars-y bounty hunter feel to the story and the artwork, but it really is cool the way he draws stuff and the way he draws the different alien creatures that they run into. And I like the spaceships. I like the weaponry and how they portray it. And I really just like the different alien races that he talks about in here. I just thought it has a real cool Pulp Fiction sci-fi feel, that old classic sci-fi feel to it. And I think the story's great. Each issue seems to delve into a new area, and you're not losing who the characters are as they do that, though. And so I think that's really cool. There was some excellent developments between the one of the main characters, the woman in here who's like the assassin type, and her status with her new captain on the ship. And I thought that was really well played out. And also our erstwhile mechanic who has his uses as well. I just thought it was a really well done book, and I think and I'm really looking forward to the next one because I want to see where they take it. And I don't see that it's a limited series or anything. I'm hoping it's not, because this thing has the potential to have that monthly pulp feel that when it keeps going, So I'm hoping it goes beyond limited status.
I hope it does. I believe it is a 6-issue run.
6, okay.
Yeah, so we have 2 more to go. But yeah, I wish it was longer too.
Yeah,
but I think we only have 6. So
okay,
which is a
so
bummer.
3 more. Okay, well, I like it.
Yeah, and speaking of Mad Cave, don't mean to be the wet blanket during the pick of the week, but I believe they laid off some editors and some marketing people this last week. Hopefully, it was performance based and not employee performance based and not company in trouble. Mad Cave is pumping out some really good books. The pick of the week for me this week, I know this week I caught up on The Peril of the Brutal Dark, issues 2 and 3. So number 3 was my pick of the week this week. It's a really great series. It has some detective pulpy works, missing persons. There's this relic that people are after. There's cults. There's all these different things going on. And when you're reading it, it feels very smooth. It's very well paced. It doesn't feel convoluted or messy, but when you finish reading it, you're like, there's a lot of stuff going on. And it doesn't feel heavy. It doesn't feel confusing. Everything feels very smooth. But it's been developing characters, it's moving the story forward, all seems like with ease. It's just a really good comic book. It's well put together and lots of things wrapped into this book that is just really where all of it really works, and really enjoying. We get some reveals, we get information, but then we also get mysteries and other questions without it feeling like a tease, without it feeling like it's just question after question after question. We do get development. We do get some answers here and there. We do get the mysteries that we do get. We get little bits and pieces of information to make it more interesting. So yeah, it's happy that Vertigo's back, and this is a great book. If you aren't reading it, definitely check it out.
Cool. Looking forward to number 3.
Yeah, really good stuff. So
that's Jacob Phillips, right, on the artwork.
Yeah, really good artwork too.
Cool.
Yeah, it's a good match with the artwork and the story. You know, sometimes you can have a good artist, but the story just doesn't match the art, and it just doesn't quite work. But this is all it all works very well together. So good pair. So we'll get to our group read, which is the Grant Morrison Son of Batman. This week we will be discussing issues 673, 674. Next week we just have one issue, which is 675. Then we wrap that up. And in 2 weeks, we will be starting Lone Wolf and Cub, one volume per week. So we invite everyone to read along with us and talk Lone Wolf and Cub with us on the forum. Let us know what your thoughts are over there. So, Jared, what did you think about as we near the end of the Grant Morrison run on Batman? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I thought 673 was a solid issue. It was pretty cool. It's titled Joe Chill in Hell.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because this guy he's a mobster. He's a classic mobster. He calls himself, and he says, "I'm normal," like a mobster is supposed to be normal, right? And but he's saying that in context with the crazies coming out, the Jokers, the Penguins, and so forth. So he's actually whining about that. He's like he doesn't like this status quo now of all the villains have to be crazies, and it was interesting seeing that side of him. And there's themes of isolation in this issue. We have Batman doing the purposeful isolation thing that he explains that he went through in order to be able to deal with that kind of stuff. And then of course Joe Chill himself feels isolated because he's got to be protected. He can't leave his mansion or whatever house he's in there. And there's also this theme of family going through the thing, because where Batman's dealing with the ramification of losing his family and the trouble he has mentally dealing with the fact that he's at once trying to build a new family with the whole Robins and what have you, the Bat family, and at the same time being scared of having that family. It was, so there was some interesting themes going on through that issue that I found pretty cool. It was a good, solid Batman issue, I thought.
Yeah, I also have a little bit of he mentions the son he lost. It's a little bit of grief in there too, and you just feel like a kind of a tortured, like you said, isolation, and yeah. So I thought it was a good issue.
Yeah, and then the next one is called Batman Dies at Dawn, 674, and that's where we find out finally like where these other guys dressed as Batman come from. Which I remember in 672 we were like all confused, like,
yeah,
what's going on here? So we finally get some answers in this issue, and I mean, it was okay. I wasn't as enamored over this one as I was the Joe Chill one. I thought the Joe Chill one was more interesting, but yeah, it was okay. It was I don't know. I kind of didn't have the oomph that I wanted it to with some of the resolution that was in it. It seems he gets away, and then he fakes the whole parachute accident in the trash at the end, and I was just like, okay.
Yeah. It was all right. I'm trying not to be too negative, but I just don't see why this run is so heralded. I guess I just it just doesn't. It's fine. There were some highs. It's been pretty consistently okay the whole way. I mean, there's issues that were good. I mean, there's issues that stood out, but it's not something that I'll remember or that really will stick out as one of the better runs of any character.
Yeah, I think it's hard to. It's hard because I think Morrison was just taking different things and playing with them with this run. He didn't have like a grand plan
Mhm.
for the whole run. He was like, I'm going to play a little bit in this sphere over here, and I'm going to play a little bit in that sphere over there. And
Yeah.
it didn't have this overarching thing like the Dark Phoenix saga had,
Yeah.
you know. That was that long build up into a huge ending that paid off. And this one, I don't know, maybe something in next week's issue will give us something that will make it all grand and better. But the way it's been going, I suspect not. I suspect it's going to be, it might top off what we've read in these last couple issues, but, and that's fine. And I think like we've both been saying, these are definitely not bad comics at all.
No.
They're good. They're solid. Just solid comics, but not to the level of greatest of all time that the run's lauded for it. But still pretty good comics.
Yeah, it's good. When we're comparing it to things like the Frank Miller run on Daredevil or Claremont and X-Men, it's a high bar. I think we've been a little spoiled with what we've been reading. So, but I love Grant Morrison. I love a lot of Morrison's work. This one just wasn't one of the standouts.
Yeah.
But we'll wrap it up. Maybe it'll all make sense next week.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. I mean, for some good Morrison superhero work, his first 6 issues of his JLA run was really pretty spectacular. It's pretty good.
Yeah. No, I remember reading the Batman and Robin run back in the 2010s or whenever that was. I remember enjoying that. I think Frank Whiteley was on art for that one. But yeah, I still wonder the whole Robin thing. Robins keep dying, and he keeps repeating the same thing over and over again. Like, you're getting kids killed, but whatever. It's led to some good stories over the years, so I guess it's a good storytelling device. I guess getting kids killed.
These damn kids.
Yeah, those damn kids. So next week we will discuss 675, and then we'll be getting into Lone Wolf and Cub, one volume per week. Again, that is free to read on Libby and Hoopla. We invite everyone to come and join us for that group read. It's one of the more famous mangas, so looking forward to that. Nice change of pace. So until next week, and Jared, where can people find you?
You can find me at the Fantasy Thinker YouTube channel. You can also find me on the Speculative Speculation podcast. And you can find me on the Page Tunes forums.
Yes. And so come by and say hello. We're also in the 1980s with the Oscars Project, Dances with Wolves. It's funnier than I remember it being. It's more humor than I remember. Yeah. So I'm not quite done with it yet because the movie is like 15 hours long. But from what I've watched, it was a little bit more humor than I remember it being. So
that's good to know.
Yeah. But it's a long one. It's a long one. So, well, cool. So thanks everyone for making us a part of your day. Thanks for listening. And until next time, we hope you find your pick of the week.
Bye-bye.